Just a few days earlier, we'd driven through the Salt Lake Valley on our way to the Great Basin. It had been raining most of the time. Gray skies, low clouds, the Wasatch Mountains were barely visible. Salt Lake City gets about 300 days of sunshine a year, so we'd just caught it on a bad week. Now we were back, and the sky was completely clear. Little Cottonwood Canyon is about 20 miles southeast of downtown Salt Lake City. A fast drive on a road that climbs steeply once you leave the suburbs. Within a few minutes, the canyon walls close in on both sides and the city disappears entirely. The road follows Little Cottonwood Creek up into the Wasatch Range. By mid-October, the aspens had already started turning, gold against the gray granite caught in the low morning light. And it is granite, more or less. The walls of this canyon are made of what geologists call the Little Cottonwood igneous stock, a body of granite, quartz monzonite, and granodiorite about 30 million years old. At some point deep in the Earth's past, magma pushed up into the surrounding rock, cooled slowly underground, and hardened. Then erosion stripped away everything softer around it and left these walls standing. A massive glacier then carved the canyon into its classic U shape over thousands of years, beginning about 30,000 years ago. You can see it in the geometry, the flat valley floor, the sheer faces rising straight up on either side. Water carves a V, ice carves a U. This is unmistakably a place that was shaped by ice. We pulled off the road a couple of times to fly the drone, and the canyon rewards that kind of patience. From altitude, you get a sense of the scale that you can't quite get from the road. The ridgelines above are ragged and sharp, what geologists call arêtes, the blade-thin edges left behind when glaciers carved away both sides of a ridge simultaneously. The mountain building happened over millions of years. The sculpting happened in tens of thousands. It's a good reminder that what looks permanent, a cliff face, a ridgeline, is actually in the middle of a very long process of becoming something else. We hiked for a few hours, nothing technical, just moving up into the canyon and watching the light change. The creek ran alongside us most of the way, cold and clear from snowmelt higher up. The canyon is probably best known in winter. Alta and Snowbird, the two ski resorts at the top, average around 550 inches of snow a year. In October, it's quiet. The summer hikers have mostly gone. The ski season hasn't started yet. You get the canyon almost to yourself. I kept stopping to take photos. Nefertiti, being Nefertiti, found other ways to appreciate the aspens. She's a dancer, and apparently, so are they. By early afternoon, we were back on the road, heading down the canyon and south toward Utah Lake. Utah Lake doesn't get the same attention as its more famous neighbor to the north. The Great Salt Lake has the name recognition, but Utah Lake has the mountains. Utah Lake is a shallow freshwater lake in the center of Utah County, sitting at just under 4,500 feet above sea level. It covers about 150 square miles and drains northward through the Jordan River into the Great Salt Lake, a remnant of prehistoric Lake Bonneville. Lake Bonneville, at its peak, was enormous, nearly as large as Lake Michigan, covering close to 20,000 square miles. It dried up as the climate shifted at the end of the last ice age, and what's left behind is what remains of something vast. We found a small trail down to the shore and walked out to the water's edge. It's not a dramatic shoreline, shallow, reedy, and quiet, but the view across the lake to the mountains is something else entirely. We drove into Provo for a bite to eat, then looped back to Utah Lake State Park for the sunset. The sunsets on Utah Lake are really something. The Wasatch Range runs along the eastern shore, and when the light drops in the west, it hits those peaks at an angle that turns everything copper and rose. We started the day in a glacier-carved canyon 30 million years in the making. We were ending it watching the sun go down over a lake that was once part of something the size of Lake Michigan, 3 days after standing in the path of an annular solar eclipse in the Nevada desert. Utah has a way of making you feel very small, but in the best possible way. The drive back to our hotel by the airport was quiet. The city lights spread out across the valley floor, the mountains dark behind them. We'd been on the road for 11 days. The eclipse was behind us, 2 more days in Salt Lake City still ahead. But tonight, there was a hot tub waiting, and sometimes that's exactly enough. Thanks for watching Small Planet Big World. We'll see you next time.
How's it? You about to max that?
I'm gonna try. Oh, wow.